I've replayed that night in my mind countless times. It was a Friday evening, cool and quiet, the kind of evening where the air feels like a sigh after a long week. I had spent most of the day cleaning my small apartment and preparing for my friend Carla's visit the next morning. Carla and I had been friends since college, and over the years our friendship had become a steady anchor in both our lives. Carla's son, Evan, had stayed at my place a few times before. He was 17, polite, and usually kept to himself, absorbed in schoolwork or his headphones. I'd always seen him as a bright, respectful kid who, like most teenagers, was finding his way through life's maze of choices. That night, Carla was out of town for work, and Evan had asked if he could stay with me since he didn't want to be alone at home. I said yes without a second thought. He arrived around 6 in the evening, dropped his backpack in the spare room, and mumbled something about going to meet friends. I reminded him about the house rules, be back by 11, text me if plans changed. He nodded, earbuds already in, and left. As the evening deepened, I sat on the couch with a book. The soft hum of the refrigerator and the ticking clock filled the silence. But something inside me kept glancing at the time. 11 p.m. came and went. I texted Evan, but no response. At 11:30, I tried calling. It went to voicemail. My stomach tightened with unease, but I told myself he was probably just late. It was nearly midnight when I heard the front door creak open. I got up, heart pounding, and there he was, Evan, shoulders slumped, eyes glassy, moving as though the floor tilted beneath him. The smell of alcohol hit me instantly, not sharp and acrid like a bar, but faint, like a secret he couldn't hide. Evan! My voice sounded sharper than I intended. What happened? He looked at me, blinking slowly, his words slurring. I'm fine. Just tired. I guided him to the couch. He nearly tripped over his shoes, collapsing into the cushions. In that moment, I felt a rush of conflicting emotions, anger, worry, disappointment, and something heavier, regret. I had sensed he might be experimenting like many kids his age, but I hadn't said anything. I thought it wasn't my place. I brought him a glass of water. He took it, hands trembling slightly. His cheeks were flushed, not from embarrassment but from the alcohol working its way through his system. Evan, you've been drinking, I said softly. He looked away, the bravado draining from his face. Just a little. Everyone does it. I sat across from him, steadying my voice. That doesn't make it okay. You're underage. And more importantly, you're not safe when you do this. He stared at the carpet. I didn't want you to tell my mom. I sighed, feeling the weight of the choice before me. Carla trusted me. Evan trusted me. Yet here we were, caught between honesty and protection. I stayed up with him for hours, making sure he drank water and didn't fall asleep too quickly. I thought about my own teenage years, the reckless nights, the adults who had looked the other way. Was I about to become one of them? As the clock crept toward 3 a.m., Evan finally fell asleep on the couch, his breathing steady. I covered him with a blanket, my heart aching. The next morning, I brewed coffee and waited for him to wake. When he finally stirred, the sunlight poured through the curtains, illuminating his pale, regretful face. Do you remember last night? I asked gently. He nodded, eyes fixed on the mug in his hands. I'm sorry. Evan, I said, I care about you. I can't ignore this. Drinking at your age is dangerous. You could have been hurt. You could have been arrested. Something worse could have happened. Tears welled in his eyes. I just wanted to fit in. They all do it. I didn't think. I know, I interrupted softly. But part of growing up is realizing that fitting in isn't worth risking your life. We talked for nearly an hour. I didn't yell. I didn't shame him. I told him about choices, about responsibility, about how every decision carries a ripple effect. By the end, he looked relieved, as though he had wanted someone to draw a line, to tell him it mattered. Then came the hardest part, calling Carla. My voice trembled as I explained what had happened. To her credit, she didn't explode. She thanked me for being honest and said we would all sit down together when she returned. That afternoon, Evan helped me clean the living room. Tension had eased, replaced by a quiet understanding. He wasn't a bad kid. He had made a bad choice, and now he had someone holding him accountable. In the days that followed, Carla and I worked together to set clearer boundaries for Evan. He started attending a youth group focused on healthy choices. He even apologized to me, unprompted, a week later. I often think about how different that night could have been, if he had tried to drive home, if he had gotten lost, if no one had been there to catch him. The weight of what if still presses on me. But at least now, when I replay that night in my mind, I know I didn't stay silent. Sometimes caring for someone means stepping into the uncomfortable space of telling them what they don't want to hear. That night changed me as much as it changed Evan. I learned that looking the other way doesn't protect kids, it leaves them unprotected. Months later, Evan graduated high school. The ceremony, he came up to me, his cap crooked and his grin wide. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" I asked. "For not letting me mess up more than I already had," he said. I smiled, blinking back tears. That's what friends and their mom's friends are for. Life isn't about avoiding mistakes entirely. It's about learning from them and helping others learn too. That night reminded me of the quiet power we all have to steer someone back onto a safer path. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. And that is why, even though I still wish I had stopped him before he went out that night, I'm grateful I was there when he came back. 'Cause sometimes showing up is the first step to making things right.